Please do. Great. So welcome everyone to our Adaptation for Communities lunchtime learning session. We're very delighted you could join us. To give a bit of context, these sessions are part of an ongoing climate leadership program that we're running. It's designed to share practical skills, leadership skills, and place-based learning and inspiration. So today we'll be joined by Abiola from CEMVO, and we're exploring inclusivity within climate action and looking at it in a Forth Valley setting a wee bit. So we're helping us all to better understand how climate adaptation can work in our own communities and spaces, and how more focused on this session, how we can make sure everyone's included in this. So I'm Steffi, coordinator for the Climate Action Hub, and I'm joined with Isabella today. We're both from FEL Scotland, so we're really happy to be hosting. These lunchtime learning sessions are also part of broader work as Forth Valley's Climate Action Hub. So through these series, we're aiming to raise awareness of achievable climate actions in our region, and shine a light on some of the incredible work that's already happening in our communities. So a lot of them follow different themes. Today's is a bit more broad, and the focus is for inclusive climate action. So that's our wee intro. And so if we're happy to, I'd love to introduce our speaker today, Abiola from CEMVO, to give a presentation. Welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Steffi. Thank you, also Isabella. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, I'm the one that will be taking bit of your lunchtime today with this talk that I'll be giving. So um, I hope I won't take that much time, and I'll also try as much as possible to be brief with my conversation, and we can all enjoy our lunch after that. Yeah. As the topic is fair and inclusive climate action, and I'm really happy to be here today because I'm excited to be within this group of like-minded individuals that are doing amazing job at driving and also accelerating impact within our local community. So I must commend the work that the Fourth Environmental Link is doing across different areas to ensure that the climate crisis, which is a huge and devastating crisis at this very moment, is something that we all collectively work together to address. So for me, my bulk of my conversation today will be around how we can make our climate action fair and inclusive. And I'll be centering most of my examples and most of my examples from the work that we currently do at CEMVO Scotland. So CEMVO Scotland is a national intermediary and a strategic partner of the Scottish Government Equality Unit, and we've been doing that since CEMVO's establishment. So over the past decades, we've worked with the Scottish Government on issues around race and equity, and this is through our work with the ethnic minority organizations that we work with. So we, as an intermediary organization, we are also we also have a membership of over 600 plus ethnic minority organizations, and we try as much as possible to ensure that the rights are not just the right, but also we empower these ethnic minority organizations to then make significant impact across different communities that they work with. So since then, we have become a leading voice across different issues that affect ethnic minority individuals and also organizations. So CEMVO stands for the Council of Ethnic Minority Voluntary Organization, and CEMVO Scotland, through our role as a connector, try as much as possible to represent the interest of these ethnic minority organizations across Scotland. So our work cuts across different areas, social enterprise, and um, down to environment and climate justice. So bulk of what I'll be talking today would be centered around climate justice because if we want to achieve a fair and inclusive climate action, then the big elephant in the room has to be addressed, which is a climate justice. So there is a question, there is an issue around injustice within the whole climate conversation that everyone is having everywhere today. So it is not just a global issue, it's a national issue here in Scotland. And looking at it within the scope of our conversation, so I'll just briefly start with how I even got in how I developed interest in issues like this. And I think this might help us in having a background or a context with regards to why it's important that we all work together, irrespective of who we are, where we come from, our socioeconomic background. We all need to work together to ensure that climate action is being addressed. So, for someone like me, I grew up in a relatively low income family, and while growing up, bulk of the issues that we or people around the community I grew up in were facing at that point in time. We couldn't even think of rising sea levels. We couldn't think of deforestation. We couldn't think of global carbon emission. We couldn't think of greenhouse gas emission and all of these things. So because you couldn't think of all of these things, you had to think of how to make sure that your house rent is being sorted before the end of the month. You have to make sure that you don't get engaged or engage in a brawl with law enforcement agencies or officers, or you have to think of how to make sure that the children or other people within your household get food to eat at the end of the day. So the issue of climate justice or environmental justice sounds sort of abstract at the very beginning. But as we all grew up, as we started seeing the ripple effect across our communities, flooding, we started seeing devastating effect of storms, we started seeing devastating effect of other climate disasters around us. We then realized that this isn't just some sort of abstract issue again. So then it brings us to think of what is the major thing that need to be done. So I as a person started looking at seeing the issue of social justice and also climate justice side by side. And to address the issue of climate injustice or environmental injustice in our society, then our moral imperative then has to focus on we acting to address the existing inequalities and exclusion within the climate context now. So the climate crisis, as we all know, is merely not an environmental issue. So it has a bit of social dimension in it. And most of the existing inequality that we see across our society, across different parts of our communities today, are being exacerbated by climate impact. So think about flooding, think about how rising temperature, or think about global warming and how temperatures are changing during different seasons now. Think about it, it has effect on different households having to pay much more to heat their homes during the winter session, or household having to find alternatives when there are so much heat during the summer session season as well. So this climate issue also have not just the social dimension, but it's in a way also has an economic dimension. So we have to see it as a big issue that needs to be addressed, and it can be addressed in isolation. So these days now we've seen a couple of movements that have now put side by side the issue of environmental justice side by side with social justice and economic justice because of how important these issues are. So a bit of data, a bit of context, which before I then drive us deep into why we are doing some of the work that we are currently doing at CEMVO Scotland. And I believe this also, in a way, relates to our communities and the work that we have done across different places in Scotland. And more importantly, this can then be focused uh, to the Forth Valley and other surrounding communities over there. So, as we all can see, this this data, these statistics are from different organizations that we've prodded their data very well. We've prodded their statistics to have a bit of understanding of why it is important for us to have a fair and inclusive climate action. And in the UK climate sector, so we have just only about 1 in 20 people working within the environmental charity identifying themselves as a person of color or indicating a lack of representation. And also globally, the top 1% of emitters that are responsible for more carbon emission, they are just top 1%, more than the poorest 66%, whose carbon footprint over 1,000. So the top 1% of emitters are responsible for more carbon emission than the poorest 66%. So this is a huge number. This is a damning statistics that shows the stark systemic inequality within the climate conversation generally. And this has been further argued to persist even across different communities in UK and also across Scotland. And then when we look more into this data, we look at how Black and ethnic minority households are also more than twice as likely to live in deep poverty compared with white households. So when we talk about this issue, we know it is a very, very important but sensitive issue. So we try as much as possible to be not just strategic when we are talking, but also to put a bit of context into the conversation that we are having. So when we are talking about ethnic minority, there is a bit of statistical reasoning that had to come into it. So we had to bring so many communities that we feel are, so this is not just people of color, but also people from ethnicities that feel less represented within the wider community in Scotland and also in UK. So we are talking about the people of Polish background. We are talking about people from the Balkan region that do not represent themselves or that do not feel represented in most conversations within the general UK population. So all of these statistics really form a bit of why we are doing what we are doing within the environment sector here. And again, if you ask me, these statistics are very, very important, and they are things that we as people working on climate action need to have at the back of our mind when we are engaging with people across diverse areas that we work with. So to achieve a fair and inclusive climate action in Sterling and also other part of the Forth Valley, we then need to see how well are we engaging or how well are we putting a bit of all of this into what we are doing with regards to community engagement, with regards to uh, implementation and project activities and other things. So again, we then have to ask this big question. So what do we need to do to overcome injustice? So despite the huge work everyone is doing, the Climate Action Hub and every other groups that are driving climate action across different communities in Scotland, there is this question that some people still ask. I are some of the actions that we are taking, are they inclusive enough? Are there people that still ask that question across the places that we work around how what we are doing are not affecting them or are not benefiting them? So these questions all relate to how we can overcome injustice, and this is what we are trying to do at CEMVO Scotland. So one of our core goal or core aim is to ensure that there is diversity in environmentalism. So this led to the creation of the Ethnic Minority Environmental Network. And this is, so as the name says, or as the name indicates, we might think it's only for ethnic minority, but no. So we've made it open to quite a lot of people. So we have a wide range of actors, individuals, community organizations who have joined us in ensuring that there is diversity in environmentalism. And as I've indicated in the previous statistics that I shared in the previous slides, we can then see that to address diversity, to ensure diversity in environmentalism, we need everyone. So we don't need to include, we don't have to exclude everyone to make sure that we achieve what we want to achieve. So we're currently working with a wide range of groups and organizations, and we are collaborating with mainstream environmental organizations to not just empower, but also to ensure that people from ethnic minority communities are well engaged when it comes to environmental issues. So we have continued to do this with organizations such as the Environmental Standard Scotland when they were trying to develop their strategy and also their engagement, community engagement plan. So we have engaged with organizations like this to make sure that their community engagement and outreach also extends to ethnic minority and other people that we currently work with. And we have also done this with Nature Scotland, and in over the years, the most significant has been working together with Circular Community Scotland to ensure that ethnic minority organizations and individuals were actually informed and also benefit from the climate action fund of the Scottish government. So we have continued to accelerate our impact by collaborating and working with different organizations and bringing everybody together. So we are moving beyond the tokenistic approach of participation to real engagement, which is bridging the gap and connecting diverse groups together to achieve climate action. So if you ask me, achieving a fair and inclusive climate action, then everyone needs to make their voices heard. So sometimes it becomes really hard to make sure that people's voices are heard. So then you have to look at who are the people and how can I make sure that I get across to these people. So this is one of the things we are doing with Amen. So we've worked with a wide range of organizations to make sure that we don't just enable marginalized communities, we also empower them. And by empowering them, we engage with organizations that we believe are funding or support in any way to make sure that members of our communities are well informed. And this has helped us accelerate different projects around biodiversity, food growing, community gardening, to nature walks, and all of it. So we've worked with this wide range of organizations to make sure that in achieving just and fair, inclusive climate action, voices need to be heard, marginalized communities need to be engaged. So we don't just um, build a technocratic conversation, or we don't just build a technocratic relationship, but also we engage with people by co-designing and co-producing knowledge that benefits everyone. So looking at this, our ethnic minority environmental network has also scaled beyond, like I said, focusing on ethnic minority itself. So we are looking at working with marginalized communities, which, as you can all agree with me, doesn't have any doesn't have any delineation. So there are so many communities that are marginalized and have different group of people, both ethnic minority and people with white background living there. So we've tried as much as possible to advance and accelerate our work with most of these marginalized communities as well. And more recently, we've worked with like the Worldwide Fund for Nature when they were trying to accelerate and ensure that different people get informed about this particular fund. CEMVO Scotland, through its environmental project, work with the Worldwide Fund for Nature to ensure that ethnic minority-led organizations and other ethnic minority individuals and people from marginalized communities are also being looped in, they are being brought into this conversation, and this really helped in increasing the number of people that not only got informed about this project or this fund, but also the number of people that got access to this fund to then pursue their own project within their community. So we've continued to achieve transformative impact by connecting local community organizations that works toward climate justice to mainstream organizations. So we've worked with environmental Scottish Environment Link and so many organizations such as the Environmental Rights Center Scotland. And the reason why I'm mentioning all of these things is that we as practitioners or we as climate activists or professionals, people working within this space, we need to understand the importance of engaging in communicative rationality approach, which is a genuine intention to make sure that people that are most impacted by these climate issues not don't just understand it, but they also get engaged in some of these things. So when you ask some people, how well do you know about low carbon emission? How well do you know about achieving a just transition to net zero? Many people have little knowledge about all of these things. So it is our duty to empower them, to provide them with the basic knowledge. And it is also our duty to make sure that we now drive them to get them to engage in the climate action, which is how we can then achieve a fair and inclusive climate action. So we've seen an uptick in number of our community members that are interested in engaging in projects like community gardenings. We've seen an uptick in the number of our community members are really interested in issues around circular economies and all of these things. And we've also seen uptick in the number of community members who are really interested in cycling and other issues like nature walks, hiking, and all of these things because we've continued to not just provide the knowledge and giving give them the basic understanding using simple languages that they understand. We've also tried to make sure that they get engaged in some of these things. So again, our work has expanded to dealing with the root cause of this problem, and our work recently now is now capped in something I can describe as diversity activism. So currently we have a project called the Race Equality Environmental Program. So this Race Equality Environmental Program, REAP, is driven to achieve um, diversity within the environment sector. So we have a Race Equality Environmental Officer a race equality environment officer rather, who work with mainstream environment organization in Scotland. So as the data have also shown us in the uh, early part of the slide I shared here, the data showed us that less than 5% of the workforce within the environment sector, not just in UK but also in Scotland, is made up of people from ethnic minority. So how do we then drive towards fair and inclusive climate participation? I think it is by supporting mainstream environmental organizations to embed racial equality. So we train them, we engage them, and these are race equality environment program officer also um, engage and consult with some of these organizations on their best approach to recruitment, on also on data gathering to ensure that there is there is enough data to back some of the actions that are being taken by these organizations. And in the long run, we offer training and strategic guidance to how some of these organizations can mainstream the their organization. And we've seen so much impact over the past years that this project have started. And this is, I believe, even beyond an organization program or organization centered effort. This is, I think, something that can be done also by climate activists, individuals that are working within this sector. Because believe me, our work around environmental justice, climate justice is something that also really resonates with social justice. So, as people working within this sector, we should see this go side by side in the long run in, when we are working around issues on climate participation. So again, data is something that is very important because it gives you a glimpse of what people are facing, and it also helps you to design programs and initiatives that can, at the end of the day, alleviate what people are facing. So to achieve just, fair and inclusive climate action, we have continued to engage in community outreach. And this, again, is something I believe everyone should be passionate about. So, this really helps us to address the institutional challenges, the structural injustices within our society. So, access to the fuel poverty level differs across different um, age, ethnic, and also social class. So we are looking at these across different lens within our organization. So fair and inclusive climate action requires us to also look at some of these things across all these lenses. And again, a planetary future which we are all passionate about, which we are all um, interested in, depends on not just environmental justice or social justice, it also depends on economic justice. And this is where our Energy for All Savings project comes in. And this project is being implemented in partnership with ChangeWorks. So what we're doing with this is, how do we make sure that ethnic minority community gets access to free and impartial energy advice and support? As we all know, the high cost of living, and with winter coming and so many things happening at the same time, some people feel less confident of um, facing this winter that is coming. So we try as much as possible to engage with them, provide advice for them, and sometimes free payment. Some people get free payment when they register. Sometimes some people also get free energy saving tools like bulbs, like water flask, and so many other things. This really to help them alleviate and make their homes warmer. But again, you agree with me that programs like this, initiatives like this, are channeled towards low channel toward warmer homes, at the same time also low carbon emission, because we are looking at how can we engage with these people to transition in a way that it won't affect them, because many people, what they will tell you is transitioning to low carbon sources are they find it very important. But again, how do they transition justly without having to dig deep into their pocket? So this is where energy saving for all. So everyone shouldn't be excluded. And then when when no one is excluded, then we can say we are achieving a fair and inclusive climate action in our project. So again, it connects to different strands. Fair and inclusive climate action connects to different strands. It connects to nature, it connects to biodiversity, it connects to energy as well. So again, low income household, ethnic minority households who usually don't get some of this advice need to be engaged, need to, like, it has to be deliberate, it has to be it has to focus on them, and we can't do this alone. So it has to be through um advocacy coalition network, or through engagement, or through deliberate outreach with some of these groups and networks that we feel might be able to help us accelerate the work that we do. So, what are we doing? How are we pushing ourselves toward real solutions? So, these works are just drops. So, what we all know as what we all are doing individually and also collectively as groups, networks, and organizations within the global climate context is like droplets of water in the ocean. So it is something that helps us address a wider problem, because again, some of the unjust climate action or climate crises that are happening in other regions, in a way or in one way or the other, affect many of us that are currently living here in Scotland. So it might be through migration, it might also be through um, extreme heat, storm, and all of these things, or rising sea levels. Some of the actions that have been taken elsewhere also connects to us. So, for example, one of the biggest issue of our time has been the ongoing war in Sudan and Darfur, and the war in Darfur was one of the war that has its prognosis driven from climate crisis, from drought, and also desertification in most part of Sudan, led to the ongoing war, which has displaced so many people and which has made them economic migrants in most Western European countries, including the United Kingdom. So many people are also emigrating from countries from South Asia that are facing wide range of environmental issues like flooding, glacier out glacier flooding as well in some part of India. And also when you look at Africa along the Sahel region, there is so much deforestation, desertification that has led to the EDAS crisis and farmer crisis in most of these countries, which has led to increase in food that have been made available in other countries. So there is a bit of connection, and then so we then need to think of the real solutions, even though the solutions are to be contextualized into our communities, into UK, into Scotland. So one of the things that we are doing and we will be doing going forward as an organization as CEMVO Scotland is mobilizing community action. So the title or the name of the project is Mobilizing Community Action Scotland. So we've come to realize that a bulk of all of these issues that we are trying to address together requires collectivity. It requires people's claim to collective, um, people's claim to collective, people's claim to engaging, and also people's claim to the wider society that they belong to. So, how can we ensure that everyone across different communities are well informed and they are such that they are driving real solutions within their community? So, one of them is um, the nature strand and also the energy strand. So this project, we are going to be doing that with Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park and also Change Works. So both on the nature and energy strand. And one of them is the access to nature at large. So how can we break barrier to accessing Scotland's nature for people from ethnic minority background? So many people arrive to this country, they feel most of the nature um, across different parts of the country um, are places that they can go to due to what the presumption they've had, or maybe due to the current social um, issues they are currently facing. So we're trying to look at how do we break this barrier? How do we ensure that more people access nature, protect nature, and ensure that this nature continues to help all of us have a peaceful coexistence and save about diversity, our birds, and all other things that makes the earth and our climate ambition go very well. And also, again, it's another part is focusing on collective climate action. How do we move towards tokenism to genuine partnership with mm, ethnic minority people of low income background to different organizations? And then again, how do we address fuel poverty? So by giving support to those struggling with eating their home or those that are worried about transitioning. And there have been several research that are currently ongoing on that we are also tapping in because data is very, very important. And with transitioning to low energy, low carbon emission, it requires so much investment, not just from government, but also from individual. So it is the role of climate professionals or people that work in environmental organizations and community network groups that will really help in achieving some of these things because some words are so clumsy for some people that they find it rather disturbing or rather inconvenient when you are discussing some of these issues with them. So, fair and inclusive climate action it requires so many things, and it requires us having to take away that professional, that technocratic jargon or language that we embed in most of our work to then speaking in plain languages and also having to demystify some of the technical issues for people to see because for most deniers these days the it is the lack of clarity in some of the issues that are being pushed or that are being shoveled into people's face or truth that really makes them uncomfortable with what we are discussing with them. So we need to find ways to make sure that real solutions are achieved through different approach. And when we achieve real, it is true. And how can we achieve real solution? It is through these things that we are talking about, which is making sure that we engage and we use techniques that address people's needs. So the action starts with all of us. as individuals, as groups, as collectives, as networks. So we can support fair and inclusive climate action by spreading awareness, also by donating or by contributing, volunteering to community-led efforts. Maybe might be community-led energy projects. It might be solar installation. It might be different things. So we need to also look at how can we consume responsibly, because studies have shown that most of the foods we consume have high carbon concentration, and with them going back into our society, our environment, it adds to the carbon emission. So our efforts wouldn't be shouldn't be in fragment. It should come as collective, and it should come as a group of people linking each of our activities together to make sure that we achieve um our wider aim, which is an inclusive climate action. So our voice, our habits, our planet friendly choices, things that we do are very, very important. They are core and integral to achieving all of these things. So for me and for us at CEMVO Scotland, we believe that building a fairer and a greener Scotland, and in this case, Fort Valley, different communities, it has to come through collective action. So collectivity is very, very important. It's very, very important to um, whatever it is that we are trying to do. So we need to raise our voices. We need to find people that are doing things that relate to all of these things that we are doing. So these things requires people working together to support not just ethnic minority in this case, but people who are struggling financially and people who also have other issues that they are facing. So fair and inclusive climate action extend beyond race and age. It also extends to so many things. So we need to look at people living with disability and also support in a way, support them and also engage them, bring them into the conversation, bring them into how we can continue to achieve some of these things that we are currently doing. Because again, there is huge link between climate and mental health. There is huge link between climate and physical health, because air pollution has exacerbated huge lung diseases across different people. People living closer to manufacturing companies and companies that um, flare gases have continued to have extreme health conditions that affect not just their lungs but their skin and so many other things. So again, we need to create this link across different areas to then see, okay, our actions and our voice in a way can help us address the problem that this issue, and can also help us to build a fairer and greener Scotland. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. And yeah, I hope to learn more from people who might have questions, and to also exchange thoughts and ideas on some of the things I've shared already on this call. Thank you. And yeah, you can reach me, and you can also we are all open to working with individuals and groups, and we are always excited to connect with different communities. So our work is national, is nationwide. So we engage with diverse communities across different locations in Scotland. So yeah, I'm happy to hear from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really amazing presentation. You're getting lots of very nice comments of thanks in the comments there. But also, j not just sharing the work of CEMVO, but really giving such in-depth slides and link to the topic. And also, thanks for sharing your personal perspective too at the start. I really appreciate that, and it was really wonderful motivation. I hope everyone else feels the same. It feels positive and gives you practical ways to connect and take away with you as well. We've got a wee bit of time left. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask at all? You're welcome to put them in the chat or raise your hand at all. I think frostily just digesting all the fantastic information. Thank
Bye.
you. I wanted to, obviously we're coming from the perspective of the Forth Valley Climate Action Hub. So it's really just a shout out for community groups. Would it be, I know that we joined the MN network, and one step, a small step could be just being in touch to share their, a community group services or information. Is that a good route to take to be connected in that way?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I said, it's an open network, so we're trying to build a collective people, a collective of that is made of people that are really interested in some of these important issues that we are currently facing. So we are open to a wide range of ideas and engagement strategies from network members. So yeah, so
Mhm.
if there's anything we're open to discuss, we can have the conversation together, and I can also bring on board the MN officer because we have someone who works directly on this network because we understand how important the network is. So there's someone that tries to bridge the communication between our organization and network members and also try to create opportunities to put network members' voices
Mhm.
to the table, especially when we engage with the Scottish government on major issues around just an transition or also on the wider climate change plan or climate change draft that is even currently in the works now.
Fantastic. Great. So that's good to know you've got that network as well. That is another way to share what we're doing, to use your networks. That's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes, and again, another thing could be that subsequent uh, programs and events that we feel benefits network members. So when something like that is maybe in the works or you from fourth environment link rather, so we can and then find a way to disseminate it to our network members as well because we believe that it will be of a good help to them. So we have a couple of individuals who reside within the Fort Valley area, so we believe they might also get something from some of these programs that you have going on within the
Yeah.
organization.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we talk a lot about being everyone becoming a trusted voice for their communities. So it's a really good start. You yourselves have those networks too, but it's also about it maybe takes a while to become that for your individuals and your groups that are in your region, but to not be disheartened, just, be open to discussions and building up that trust does take quite a while, doesn't it? But it's important and needed, as you've highlighted so well. Thank you. Um,
Okay.
so I was just going to add a wee link at the end because as part of Black History Month, there is a collective working in Forth Valley, Black History Month Forth Valley. And there's quite a few events, so I've just put a link to their website in the chat. And so they have a calendar as well, so you can see what's happening in the region. But also we're
Yeah.
working with um We're working with a community group in Falkirk. So we're working with Forth Valley Rise. And this weekend there's a community event at the Bailey Fields Community Centre. So there'll be lots of different cultural sharing, family-friendly activities, and also a complimentary lunch. So I've put a link to the Eventbrite there. If you can make it along, it's a nice way um, to connect and be in touch with them.
All right.
And yeah. And then I guess I'll just give you our wee outro to keep it neat, just to signpost our next events that are coming up. So again, just finishing off with a really massive thank you for your time speaking today. I can tell from the chat that everyone found it really useful and really important discussions. Thank you so much for an excellent presentation. Um, to everyone here, just another prompt to look at our free membership on FEL Scotland and to keep an eye out on Eventbrite, as we've got a few events and workshops that pop up across our different teams, and that's a good place to spot them first. And if you enjoyed today, our next topic is around local resilience planning. And that's with an organization called Virture. So that will be next week, next Wednesday. But yeah, other than that, I'll let you all go and thank you so much for taking part.